The language of visual experience. The questions art historians ask: how old is it? Physical evidence. Materials that are used can indicate the age of an artwork. Documentary evidence are written documents or records that are associated with an artwork. Internal evidence is the depiction of clothing or hair that may indicate the age of an artwork. Stylistic evidence is a distinctive manner of production during a certain time, which may indicate age. The questions art historians ask: what is its style? There could be period style, which is the artistic manner of a culture within a span of years. Regional style, variations of style that are tied to a particular geography. Personal style, it's a distinctive manner of an individual artist or architect. Another question art historians ask is, what is its subject? The subject matter is encompassing the narrative of the artwork, a particular scene presented, an action's time and place, particular people involved, environment and details. Subject could have iconography, symbols like the Christian cross, attributes like John is recognized by an eagle, personifications, for instance, Lady Liberty equals freedom. Questions art historians ask: who made it? Some works are signed by an artist. Some are attributed based on knowledge of the artist. And some are attributed to a school, which is a shared chronology, style, and geography. Who paid for it? Most often, patrons. Drawing media. Drawings can be used as a study of something, like a doodle or prep for another artwork, or the drawing could just be a finished artwork. Drawing media types you may hear of are graphite, metal point, charcoal, pastels, which could be oil or chalk, crayon, as far as a Conte crayon, chalks, pen and ink, brush and ink. Painting media. Some painting types you will hear artists talk about would be oil. Most are used in the last 500 years in the Western art world. Tempera, most commonly made with egg, bright colors, dries quickly. It's an older method. And caustic is made with wax. It needs heat to melt, and then you use it. There's a texture buildup, and it is an older method. Watercolor, pigments in water, transparent, which is common. Fresco is a wall painting technique used often. We have many frescoes from ancient time periods. They use plaster. It's a difficult technique. Acrylic is also known as polymer paints, developed in the 1950s. They are fast drying, tough, flexible. They can mimic other paints. It's water soluble. Introduction to paint. Paint is made with pigment, which is a powdered color. It's a medium or vehicle. It's a liquid that holds the particles of pigment together without dissolving them. It's made with a binder, which is an ingredient that ensures that paint, even when diluted and spread, will adhere to the surface. Support is what paint is applied to, like canvas, paper, a wood panel, a wall. A ground or primer is a preliminary coating to the support so that paint will adhere to it. Printmaking media. There are three main types. Relief. Any printing method in which image has to be printed is raised from a background, like a lino cut or wood cut. Think in terms of a rubber stamp. Lithography is where printing surface is flat and uses a stone. Intaglio, the areas are meant to print are below the surface or scratched into a plate. And then an acid is added to cut into the plate. There's 6 main types of intaglio: engraving, dry point, mezzotint, etching, aquatint, and photogravure. Other print types: a monotype, screen printing. Digital media, digital arts, anything using a computer or digital software. Sculptural media. Sculpture. 2 major types. In the round, which is a freestanding work that can be viewed from any angle. You can walk all the way around it and view it from all sides. Relief is a sculpture in which forms project but remain attached to a background surface. They're meant to be viewed from the front. It can be low relief or high relief. 4 basic methods of sculpture is modeling. Modeled sculptures are created when a soft or malleable material, such as clay, is built up, sometimes over an armature, which is metal wire structure, and shaped to create a form. There's assembling, which is an additive process. Sculpture begins with a simple framework or nothing and add materials to it until it is finished. Carving is a subtractive process in which one starts with a mass of material and you subtract or take away until only a desired form remains. Casting involves a mold of some kind in which liquid or a semi-liquid material is poured and allowed to harden, and it is a way of making multiple items. Additional sculpture vocabulary. Earthworks, using the surface of the earth as material. Additive sculpture on a larger scale. Ready-made is a found image or object, usually an everyday item, presented as an artwork, like the urinal there. Kinetic sculpture is sculpture that moves, literally. Light sculpture is sculpture that involves light. Media installation art is temporary or permanent. It transforms a space. Construction of a space or the assembly of objects to create an environment. There's a physical experience. 3D, it's site specific. It's an immersive experience for the viewer. Example, a commentary on the mass production technique that China caters to Western countries. Cultural media, art of everyday life. This includes ceramics, like a bowl, glass, a vase, stained glass, metal, earrings, wood, which could be a wooden chair, a wooden table, ivory, jade, and lacquer, bowls and boxes, fibers, like a basket or a shirt. Many different types of media can be used. Performance art media. Performance presented to an audience within a fine art context, traditionally interdisciplinary. Performance may be either scripted or unscripted, random or carefully orchestrated, spontaneous or otherwise carefully planned with or without audience participation. Photographic media You've got photography, film, and video art. Architectural media. Architecture is the art and science of designing and constructing spaces, not only for practical purposes, but also for symbolic and aesthetic ones. There are three key issues. It's function, how a building is used; form, how it looks; structure, how it stands up. Expressive statements about architects and cultures that they serve. Other media, there's mosaics, book arts like illuminated manuscripts and calligraphy, and conceptual art. The elements of art: line, shape, color, value, form, texture, space, and time. Different tools make different kinds of lines. For shape, shape comes in many types and sizes. Color, every color can be bright, dull, dark, or light. Value refers to dark and light in a painting or drawing. Form is three-dimensional and it takes up space. Texture is how a surface of something feels or looks. Space. We use illusions to make space in art. Time, noting the passage of time when making art. Principles of design. They are the building blocks of composition and creating artworks. They are balance, contrast, emphasis, movement, pattern, rhythm, and unity. These are some line types. Time and motion. Time is actual time or implied time. Actual time includes time-based work and media, artwork that changes through time, and the effect of time on artwork and how that affects its meaning. Implied time. Time can be implied in static work in a number of ways, including using sequential series of images, capturing a moment in time, and using symbolic representations of time. Motion. Any artwork may incorporate actual motion. That is, the artwork itself moves in some way, or it may incorporate the illusion of or implied movement, like with lines or color. Kinetic art, literally art that moves. Form is an actual 3D object, such as a pyramid. It occupies 3D space and exists in real and solid ways. Two fundamental attributes: volume, the amount of actual space a form occupies, and mass, describes the concept that volume is solid and occupies space. Texture, there are two types. Tactile is real texture that we can feel. Simulated texture looks soft, it looks soft or hard or prickly, but we cannot feel it. Light value, created with techniques. Hatching, cross-hatching, and stippling is line made, it's value made by line. There's hatching, there are areas of closely spaced parallel lines. In cross-hatching, we have an additional set of parallel lines that go across the first. Stippling are areas of dots to create light value. The more dots in a given area, the darker it appears. Warm versus cool. The warm colors are the red, orange, yellow side. Cool colors are the blue and green side, purples. Mixing of opposite hues, yellow and purple are complementary. and when mixed are dulled to make the color in the middle. Atmospheric perspective. Rain, steam, speed. Whenever you go further back in space, things are less detailed and more blurred. As it's closer to you, things are more detailed and clearer. One-point linear perspective. There's a horizon line. Vertical stay vertical. Frontal areas stay square. Everything that recedes in space gets smaller and converges on the vanishing point. There are multiple types of linear perspective. There's some examples of one-point perspective, then 1 point with cubes above eye level, at eye level, and below eye level. And then at the bottom, an example of 2-point linear perspective, where it's like a corner of a box is facing you, and everything on the right side goes to the right vanishing point, everything on the left goes to the left vanishing point. And the vanishing points are on a horizon line. It's a depiction of space on a flat surface. Foreshortening is a receding space, like a hand shooting towards you. It's that distortion of things receding in space. Another way to depict space is having a foreground, a middle ground, and a background, where things in the foreground are bigger and clearer. Middle ground, they're further away, a little less detailed, medium in size. In the middle part of the image, background, usually towards the top, further away, less detailed. On the right, we have overlap with diminishing size, vertical placement, overlap, vertical placement, and diminishing size to show a depiction of space on a flat surface. Some types of balance, we have symmetrical, where two sides are identical, like a mirror image. Radial is when the elements of design come out from a central point and radiate. Asymmetry is about balance of unlike elements. One part of the artwork has more visual weight than the other. Scale and proportion. Scale is the size in relation to a standard or normal size. Normal size is the size we expect something to be. If you look at the image on the right, we have an abnormally sized comb in an interior with an abnormally large match and an abnormally large wine glass. We have hierarchical scale in the middle image, where Mary is the biggest character because she's most important. So if the composition expresses hierarchy, the use of scale indicates the importance of whoever's big versus whoever's small. Proportion refers to size relationships between parts of a whole or between individual parts in a whole. So the baby's face is proportionate. If the chin was too long, maybe you'd call it disproportionate, or if the nose was bigger, one eye bigger than the other, then it's disproportionate. Emphasis is where your eye is drawn to the most, the area that grabs your attention. Ways to create emphasis would be a contrast of elements, an isolation of objects, or centering. How to create rhythm in an artwork. Repetition is the simplest way to attain rhythm, by repeating anything at least twice. Alternation is used to create rhythm by alternating two or more elements in a regular pattern. Progression is examples are a gradation of color or a series of objects that start small and become large in a very regular manner.